Hello, everyone. Let me remind you of something real simple but powerful. Nothing moves until you do. Nothing changes until you change. The dream you have, the vision you carry, the life you imagine, it won't show up because you wish for it. It will only show up when you put in the work, and work. Everybody wants success, but not everybody wants to work for it. You say you want to be great, but greatness doesn't come on discount. You say you want to build an empire, but an empire is not built on excuses. It's built brick by brick, day by day, with sweat, consistency, and commitment. The difference between those who have and those who don't isn't luck. It's labor. The grind is what separates dreamers from doers. And I came here to tell you, if you're serious and roll up your sleeves, stop talking and get to work. You've been waiting for the perfect moment. You've been waiting for motivation to kick in. And that spark, that fire that makes you feel like getting up and grinding. But I need you to understand something, and I need you to get it deep in your spirit. Motivation is weak. Motivation is temporary. It comes and it goes like the wind. Some mornings you wake up and you feel unstoppable. Other mornings you wake up and you don't even want to get out of bed. If you rely on motivation, you'll never be consistent. You'll never be reliable. You'll never reach greatness. Because greatness isn't built on feelings. It's built on discipline. See, discipline doesn't ask you how you feel. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, if you're hurting, if you're discouraged. Discipline says, this is what we said we do, so let's do it. Discipline is the muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. Motivation fades, but discipline grows. And the people who succeed, the people who build legacy, the people who rise from nothing to everything, they don't rely on being in the mood. They rely on showing up every single day, no matter what. Think about it. How many dreams have died in people's hearts because they only worked when they felt like it? How many visions were never fulfilled because somebody said, I'll do it tomorrow? And then tomorrow became next week, and next week became next year, and next year became never. That's what happens when you lean on motivation. It's too unstable, too emotional. But discipline is the contract you sign with yourself that you will not break. Discipline is the alarm clock that rings at 5 a.m. and you get up, no questions asked. Discipline is saying no to distractions when everything around you is pulling at your attention. Discipline is pushing through when motivation walked out the door. And let me tell you something, your feelings will betray you. Your feelings will lie to you. Your feelings will tell you you're too tired, when in reality you got more in the tank. Your feelings will tell you you can't do it, when in reality you can. Your feelings will tell you to quit, when in reality you're right on the edge of a breakthrough. If you trust your feelings, you'll stay average. But if you trust your discipline, you'll rise to levels you never thought possible. That's why the most successful people in the world aren't the most talented, they're the most disciplined. Look around you. In sports, in business, in life, it's not always the most gifted who win. It's the most consistent. The ones who show up to practice every day, the ones who study longer, the ones who put in the reps when nobody's watching. They separate themselves not because they're special, but because they're disciplined. When you build discipline, you build habits. And habits are what make you unstoppable. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it. You don't wake up and say, I'm really not feeling like brushing today. You just do it because it's habit. Imagine if working on your goals, if studying, if grinding, if training, if waking up early, if giving 120% was as natural to you as brushing your teeth. That's what discipline does. It turns hard work into habit. It turns effort into automatic. And when effort becomes automatic, success becomes inevitable. But you got to make a decision. You've got to decide that no matter how you feel, you will follow through. You've got to decide that your word means something to you. When you tell yourself you're going to do something, you don't negotiate with yourself later. Because the problem with some of you is you keep negotiating with yourself. You say you'll wake up early, then your alarm goes off and you start bargaining. Just 5 more minutes. You say you'll hit the gym, then you start rationalizing. I had a long day, I'll go tomorrow. You say you'll start that business, then you start doubting. Maybe I'm not ready yet. And anytime you do that, you weaken your own character. You send a message to yourself that your word doesn't matter. But discipline says no. Discipline says, oh, we made a promise and we keep it. Discipline says there is no negotiation. There is no bargaining. There is no delay. There is only execution. That's the difference between those who wish and those who win. And listen, it's not easy. Discipline is hard. It hurts. It demands sacrifice. But so does regret. And regret costs way more. Regret will eat at you for the rest of your life. You don't regret the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the sweat. You regret the chances you didn't take, the work you didn't do, the discipline you didn't practice. You regret knowing you could have been great, but you settled for average. You regret standing in the same place 5 years later because you kept waiting for motivation to save you. Motivation won't save you. Discipline will. So stop waiting for a feeling and start building a system. Create routines that lock you in. Create non-negotiables in your life. If you say you're working out, don't ask yourself if you feel like it. Go. If you say you're building your business, don't wait until inspiration strikes. Grind. If you say you're writing that book, don't wait until the ideas are perfect. You don't need to feel like doing it, you just need to do it. And once you do it long enough, something magical happens. You stop needing motivation altogether because you see progress. You see results. And results create their own momentum. Success starts feeding itself. And what used to be difficult becomes natural. That's the reward of discipline. It turns struggle into strength. It turns sacrifice into satisfaction. So the question is, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life controlled by feelings that change every day? Or do you want to live a life controlled by principles, by commitment, by discipline that never wavers? Because I promise you, if you choose discipline, you will win in the long run. You will outlast the talented, you will outlast the motivated, you will outlast everyone who is only in it when it feels good. You will still be standing when they've all quit. Discipline is what will make you unstoppable. Discipline is what will turn your potential into reality. Discipline is what will make your dreams tangible. Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. And if you want to go far, you better build an engine that never stops running. So stop asking yourself how you feel. Stop waiting for motivation. Start training yourself to be disciplined. Because when motivation fails you, discipline will carry you. When your feelings betray you, discipline will protect you. When life tests you, discipline will push you through. And when you finally get to the top, when you finally achieve everything you dreamed of, you'll know it wasn't because you felt like it. It was because you were disciplined enough to keep going even when you did. When you did. That's the secret. That's the difference. That's the truth. Discipline over motivation every single time. You've been told your whole life that talent is everything. People point to the fastest runner, the smartest student, the most gifted musician, and they say that person is destined for greatness. But let me tell you something that they don't say enough. Talent is not the deciding factor. Talent might get you in the door, but it won't keep you in the room. Talent might put you in the spotlight for a moment, but consistency is what keeps the light shining. Because consistency beats talent every single time. See, talent is like a spark. It's impressive, it catches attention, but it burns out quick if you don't feed it. Consistency is the firewood. It keeps burning day after day, long after the spark is gone. Some of you are banking on your talent, you're banking on being gifted, and you think that's enough. But talent without consistency is wasted potential. How many people do you know who were so talented in school, but years later, they didn't do anything with it? How many athletes had the skills but never showed up to practice? How many musicians had the voice but never put in the hours to develop it? Talent is common. Discipline and consistency are rare. And that's why consistency beats talent every time. Because consistency is not about what you can do once in a while. It's about what you do every day. It's about the habits you build, the choices you repeat, the effort you put in when nobody is clapping. Anybody can work hard for a day. Anybody can shine for a week. But can you do it for years? Can you do it when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when the results are slow? That's what separates winners from quitters. You think Kobe Bryant was the most talented player to ever walk into the NBA? Maybe not. But you know what he had? The Mamba mentality. He was in the gym before anybody else. He stayed after everybody else left. He shot thousands of shots every single day. While other players were sleeping, he was grinding. That's not talent, that's consistency. And that's why he became legendary. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. Do you understand that? The greatest player of all time wasn't even talented enough in the eyes of his coach to make the team. But he didn't quit. He didn't accept it. He worked every single day. He turned his pain into consistency. And years later, the same world that doubted him called him the GOAT. That wasn't just talent. That was consistency beating every limitation. Look at the people who last in business. You might have someone come in with a brilliant idea, but if they're not consistent, they fade out. But the entrepreneur who keeps showing up, keeps testing, keeps pushing, keeps learning, they're the ones who build empires. Because consistency is the foundation. Talent is the decoration. You need to stop waiting for talent to save you. You need to stop saying, I'm not as smart, I'm not as skilled, I don't have the natural ability. Let me tell you something. You don't need to be the most talented. You just need to outwork everybody else. You just need to be consistent. If you stay consistent long enough, you will pass the talented people who quit. You will pass the gifted ones who only showed up when it was convenient. Because the truth is, talent without consistency is useless. But average with consistency becomes extraordinary. Some of you don't get it yet. You're comparing yourself to others. You're discouraged because somebody else seems to have more natural ability. But let me break it down. Talent might put them 10 steps ahead of you at the start. But if they only walk once a week and you walk every single day, eventually you will pass them. And not only will you pass them, you will keep going long after they stop. That's what consistency does. It multiplies, it compounds. It takes small efforts done daily and turns them into massive results over time. That's why I tell people, stop chasing perfection and start chasing progress. Don't worry about being the best right now. Just worry about being better than you were yesterday. Just worry about putting in the work today. Because if you do that every day, day after day, year after year, you'll look up one day and you won't even recognize yourself. You'll realize that consistency has built something talent never could. Consistency also builds trust. People respect the one who shows up. If you're inconsistent, nobody can rely on you. But if you're consistent, people know your word means something. Your clients trust you. Your team trusts you. Your family trusts you. That's power, and that comes from consistency, not talent. Let me tell you what else consistency gives you. Resilience. Because when you show up every day, no matter how you feel, you train yourself to push through adversity. The talented person who never had to struggle will break when life hits them. But the consistent person has already been tested. They've already trained themselves to keep going no matter what. They're battle ready, they're strong. And they win not because they never fail, but because they never stopped getting back up. And I know some of you are frustrated. You've been working for months, maybe years, and you don't see the results you want yet. But that's how consistency works. It's not about instant gratification. It's about long-term transformation. Seeds don't become trees overnight. Muscles don't grow after one workout. Businesses don't explode after 1 week. Successes build slowly, brick by brick, rep by rep, day by day. And the ones who stay consistent long enough eventually get to harvest the reward. So I need you to shift your mindset. Stop asking, am I talented enough? Start asking, am I consistent enough? Stop worrying about whether you feel motivated. Start worrying about whether you're disciplined. Stop comparing yourself to the naturally gifted. Start competing with the version of you yesterday. That's the only competition that matters. Because here's the truth. Consistency creates talent. The more consistent you are, the more skilled you become. The more skilled you become, the more confident you get. And the more confident you get, the more unstoppable you are. Consistency turns ordinary into extraordinary. Consistency turns average into elite. Consistency turns nobodies into legends. So I don't care where you started. I don't care how far behind you feel. If you lock in, if you commit, if you get consistent, you can build something that no amount of natural talent could ever match. It won't be easy. It won't be quick, but it will be real. It will be solid. It will last. Think about your legacy. Do you want to be remembered as someone who had potential but never followed through? Or do you want to be remembered as someone who showed up every day and made it happen? Your legacy won't be written by your talent. It will be written by your consistency. When people look back at your life, they won't say he was gifted. They'll say he was relentless. He never quit. He was always there, always working, always grinding, has respect. That's impact. That's greatness. And that's why I'm telling you, stop waiting for talent. Stop wishing for talent. Stop crying about what you don't have. Start using what you do have. Start building consistency. Because consistency beats talent. Every day of the week, every month of the year, every month of the year, every season of life. And when the talented stop showing up, when the gifted get tired, when the motivated quit, you'll still be standing. Because you weren't built on feeling. You weren't built on gifts. You were built on consistency. And that foundation is unshakable. That foundation will carry you further than you ever dreamed. So from this day forward, make the choice. Be consistent, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when nobody sees it. Because the boring work, the repetitive work, the daily grind, that's what creates greatness. That's what builds champions. That's what builds champions. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Consistency beats talent. And if you can stay consistent, you will win. Not maybe, not someday. You will. Everybody wants the celebration, but nobody wants the sacrifice. Everybody wants the party, but nobody wants the pain. We live in a world where people want to skip straight to the reward without going through the process. But life doesn't work that way. Life is built on sacrifice. You want something big, you got to be willing to give something up. You want to live like others can't? Then you got to be willing to work like others won't. Sacrifice now, celebrate later. That's the formula. The problem is most people don't want to pay the price. They want the body without the diet, the success without the grind, the diploma without the studying, the business without the sleepless nights. They want the life, but they're not willing to die to their comfort. But let me tell you this, comfort is the enemy of progress. You cannot grow if you're holding on to comfort. You cannot win if you're afraid of sacrifice. If you're not willing to sacrifice now, then you will pay later with regret. See, sacrifice is not punishment. Sacrifice is the investment. Sacrifice is the down payment on your future. When you sacrifice your time, your comfort, your distractions, you're not losing. You're planting seeds. And one day those seeds are going to grow into a harvest so big, you'll be glad you paid the price. But you got to be patient enough, disciplined enough, and tough enough to sacrifice right now while everybody else is living it up. Think about athletes. While their friends are out partying, they're in the gym. While people are sleeping, they're running drill. While others are enjoying the moment, they're preparing for the future. That's sacrifice. That's why when the lights come on, when the world's watching, they perform at a level that looks supernatural. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's sacrifice. The world sees the glory, but they don't see the grind. They don't see the lonely nights, the sweat, the blood, the sacrifice. And it's the same in every area of life. You want to build wealth, you got to sacrifice short-term pleasures. You've got to stop spending money to impress people who don't care about you and start investing money to build something that lasts. You got to say no to nights out so you can say yes to financial freedom later. You've got to give up the shoes, the clothes, the gadgets today so that tomorrow you can buy time. You can buy freedom. You can buy choices. That's the real celebration. Not flexing on Instagram for a few likes, but living a life where you don't have to check the price tag anymore. That comes from sacrifice. And I know what you're thinking, but it's hard. Of course it's hard. If it were easy, everybody would be successful. If it were easy, everybody would be rich. Everybody would be rich. Everybody would be great. But sacrifice separates the serious from the casual, the disciplined from the distracted, the committed from the convenient. Sacrifice is supposed to hurt. That's how you know it's working. If it doesn't cost you something, it won't change you. If it doesn't stretch you, it won't elevate you. I need you to get this. The pain of sacrifice is temporary, but the pain of regret is permanent. You sacrifice for a season, but regret lasts a lifetime. When you're young, you think you got time. You think you can play now and work later, but time flies. Before you know it, years have passed, and all you're left with is the memory of wasted opportunity. I'd rather hurt now and celebrate later than enjoy now and suffer later. Look at students, the ones who sacrifice their weekends, who study while others are partying, who wake up early and grind through books and projects. They walk across that stage, degree in hand, ready to change their lives. Meanwhile, the ones who skip the sacrifice are stuck, scrambling, regretting, wishing they had taken it seriously. That's the difference between sacrifice now and regret later. And don't get it twisted. Sacrifice doesn't just mean money or time. Sometimes sacrifice means cutting off toxic relationships. Sometimes sacrifice means walking away from friends who don't share your vision. Sometimes sacrifice means being alone for a season so you can grow into the person you need to be. It hurts, it's lonely, it feels unfair, but it's necessary. Because if the people around you are not helping you, they're hurting you. And if you're not willing to sacrifice their company, you'll never reach your destiny. Sacrifice is saying no to distraction so you can say yes to destiny. It's saying no to temporary pleasure so you can say yes to permanent freedom. It's saying no to laziness so you can say yes to legacy. You can't have both. You can't have the easy life now and the great life later. You gotta choose. And the ones who choose sacrifice now will always be the ones who celebrate later. But here's the good news. Once you get used to sacrifice, once you build the muscle, it doesn't feel like suffering anymore. It feels like strategy. It feels like power. You start to realize that every you know today is a yes to something bigger tomorrow. Every time you give up something small, you're gaining something great. And when you finally start reaping the benefits, when you start living in the celebration, you look back and say, man, that sacrifice was worth it. Think about it. The doctor who sacrificed years of study, sleepless nights, and endless exams. Now they live a life of respect, stability, and success. The entrepreneur who sacrificed comfort, who sacrificed weekends, who sacrificed security. Now they're free. Now they're living their dream. The athlete who sacrificed pain, who sacrificed fun, who sacrificed social life. Now they're legends. Sacrifice now. Celebrate later. That's the common thread in every story of success. But too many of you are trying to celebrate now. Too many of you are chasing the applause before you've done the work. Too many of you are eating your seed instead of planting it. And then you wonder why nothing grows. You wonder why you're stuck in the same place. It's because you want instant gratification instead of long-term satisfaction. But real winners know that delayed gratification is the key. They know that if they sacrifice now, the celebration later would be 10 times sweeter. You got to develop the mindset that says, I can wait, I can work, I can sacrifice. The party will come, the breakthrough will come, the celebration will come, but only if you pay the price now. And the crazy thing is, once you start sacrificing, once you start disciplining yourself, you'll find out that the things you thought you needed, the things you thought you couldn't live without, they weren't even worth it. You'll realize you were trading your destiny for cheap pleasures. And once you let them go, once you sacrifice them, you'll see how much stronger, sharper, and more focused you become. So I'm asking you, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice sleep to get up early and grind? Are you willing to sacrifice entertainment to work on your goals? Are you willing to sacrifice hanging out to build something lasting? Are you willing to sacrifice now so you can celebrate later? Because if you're not, then stop saying you want success. Stop saying you want greatness. Stop saying you want freedom. Because all of those things require sacrifice. Sacrifice now, celebrate later. That's not just a catchy phrase. That's the truth. And if you live by it, your life will change. You'll look back and you'll thank yourself for every night you stayed in and worked, for every dollar you invested instead of wasted, for every friend you cut off who was holding you back. You'll thank yourself for every sacrifice because the celebration that follows will be worth it. And when that day comes, when you're finally living in the reward, when you're finally celebrating, people will look at you and say, well, lucky. They'll call it luck because they didn't see the sacrifice. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was sacrifice. Sacrifice now. Celebrate later. That's how you win. Obstacles are not there to stop you. They are there to test you, to see how much you really want what you say you want. Everybody loves the idea of success until they meet resistance, until they hit a wall, until life throws that first punch. But understand that obstacles are a part of the journey. You cannot get to greatness without them. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot develop resilience without pain. So when you hit an obstacle, don't you dare quit. Don't you dare fold. Don't you dare walk away. Grind through it. Push through it. Fight through it. That's where growth happens. That's where champions are made. The difference between the ones who win and the ones who lose is not that the winners had an easier path. No, they just kept grinding when others gave up. They faced the same storms, the same setbacks, the same problems, but they made a decision to keep moving. That's what grinding through obstacles means. It means you keep showing up. You keep working. You keep believing, even when nothing seems to be working. Because obstacles don't mean stop. Obstacles mean go harder. Life is going to test you. You're going to have plans that fall apart. You're going to have days where you feel like nothing is going right. You're going to hear no after no, rejection after rejection, failure after failure. But that's not the end. That's just the process. The obstacle is the opportunity. The setback is the setup for the comeback. But you'll only see it if you keep grinding. You'll only experience it if you refuse to quit. Think about every great story. The hero never got there without obstacles. Every champion has scars. Every success story has chapters of pain, disappointment, and struggle. But those chapters didn't destroy them. They developed them. They turned weakness into strength. They turned fear into courage. They turned doubt into faith. That's what grinding through obstacles does. It transforms you. Most people quit too soon. Most people see the obstacle and think it's a dead end. But the winners, the relentless ones, they see the obstacle and say, this is just another step in the journey. They find another route. They climb over, they dig under, they break through. They break through. Obstacles aren't permanent. They're temporary roadblocks. But if you stop moving, if you give up, then the obstacle wins. The obstacle only wins if you quit. And let me tell you, the bigger the dream, the bigger the dream, the bigger the obstacles. If you're dreaming small, your obstacles will be small. But if you're dreaming big, expect big resistance, expect big tests, expect big battles. That's how you know you're on the right path. The size of your obstacles is a reflection of the size of your destiny. Don't run from them. Don't avoid them. Embrace them. Grind through them. You got to develop the mentality that nothing can break you. You've got to get to a place where failure doesn't scare you anymore. Rejection doesn't stop you anymore. Pain doesn't hold you anymore. Because when you grind through obstacles long enough, you realize they can't defeat you. They can delay you. They can challenge you, but they can't stop you unless you let them. That's power. That's strength. That's resilience. When you grind through obstacles, you learn to adapt. You learn to innovate. You learn to grow. Every time life knocks you down and you get back up, you're stronger. Every time you push through pain, your threshold increases. Every time you find a way around the wall, your creativity expands. That's why you can't avoid obstacles. They are your greatest teachers. They are the gyms where your character gets built, where your spirit gets trained, where your discipline gets tested. It's like lifting weights. If you only ever lift what's comfortable, you'll never get stronger. But when you add more weight, when you push through the burn, when you grind through the resistance, that's when growth happens. Life is the same way. The obstacles are the weight. And the more you grind through them, the stronger you become. But you got to stop expecting the path to be easy. You've got to stop thinking success is supposed to come without struggle. That's why so many people fail. They thought it would be easy. And when it wasn't, they gave up. Don't be like that. Expect the obstacles, prepare for them. And when they come, welcome them. Say, this is my chance to prove how bad I want it. This is my chance to show I can't be stopped. There will be days when you want to quit. There will be moments when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel defeated. That's normal. But what's not normal is quitting. Quitting should not be in your vocabulary. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to cry, if you need to scream, scream. But after that, get up and keep grinding, because quitting gets you nothing. Grinding gets you everything. And here's the truth. When you finally break through the obstacle, when you finally overcome it, the victory tastes sweeter because of the struggle. The celebration means more because of the sacrifice. The success is richer because of the scars. That's the beauty of grinding through obstacles. The pain of the process turns into the pride of the progress. Look at nature. The strongest trees are the ones that have weathered the storms. The tallest mountains were shaped by resistance. Diamonds are made under pressure. Butterflies only fly because they struggle through the cocoon. Everything great in life comes through obstacles. Why would your journey be any different? So when you face your obstacles, don't shrink. Don't back down. Lean in. Push harder. Grind longer. Tell yourself, this obstacle is not bigger than me. This wall is not stronger than me. This problem is not the end of me. And then prove it with your actions. Keep working, keep moving, keep believing. Grind until the obstacle breaks. Grind until the problem gives way. Grind until the wall crumbles. Because if you grind long enough, it has to. Winners aren't the ones who never faced obstacles. Winners are the ones who never stop grinding through them. And if you want to win, if you want to be great, if you want to live a life that matters, then you got to make a decision right now. The next time life throws an obstacle in your way, you're not going to quit. You're not going to run. You're not going to fold. You're going to grind. You're going to push. You're going to keep going until you break through. That's the mindset. That's the mentality. That's the difference. Obstacles don't define you. How you respond to them does. So grind through every obstacle. Grind until there's nothing left to grind. Grind until your dreams are real. Because when you grind through obstacles, nothing in this world can stop you. Respecting the process is one of the hardest lessons that most people struggle with. Because we live in a world that celebrates instant gratification, quick fixes, and overnight success story. People see the highlight reels of athletes, entertainers, entrepreneurs, and influencers, but they rarely pay attention to the years of blood, sweat, and tears that went into building those highlight moments. Respecting the process means understanding that nothing valuable comes easy, that everything worthwhile takes time, and that greatness is not microwave but slow cooked over years of relentless effort. It means embracing patience, discipline, and persistence while refusing to cut corners or look for shortcuts. The process isn't just about the end result. It's about who you become while you're grinding day in and day out toward that result. And the truth is, most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they get tired of the process and quit too soon. When you respect the process, you recognize that growth doesn't always happen in visible ways. You may not see immediate results. You may go to the gym for weeks and not notice any changes in the mirror. You may study for months and still feel like you're not ready for the exam. You may work on your craft, your business, your dream, and it looks like nothing is moving. That's the point where most people give up. But the process is at work, even if you can't see it. Just like a seed buried underground, growth is happening in silence before it ever breaks through the soil. If you quit during that silent phase, you rob yourself of the harvest. Respecting the process means trusting that the work you put in today, though invisible, is compounding and will show itself in due time. Respecting the process also means rejecting entitlement. Too many people want the crown without carrying the cross. They want the success without the struggle. They want the reward without the responsibility. But the process exists to prepare you for what you're asking for. Think about it. If you received everything you wanted right now without going through the process, you wouldn't be ready to handle it. That's why so many people who win the lottery end up broke, or so many athletes who peak too early can't sustain their careers. The process builds character, resilience, and maturity so that when the blessing comes, you can sustain it. The grind, the discipline, the failures, the setbacks, all of those are necessary parts of the process. They don't come to punish you, they come to prepare you. The process also demands humility. You can't rush it, you can't trick it, and you can't cheat it. When you try to skip steps, the process exposes you. If you take shortcuts in training, the game will reveal it. If you cut corners in your business, your customers will feel it. If you rush through your education, life will test the gaps in your knowledge. The process is honest. It gives back exactly what you put in. If you put in half effort, you get half results. If you give your all, the process rewards you with growth. But you must respect it enough to give it time, energy, and consistency. Another part of respecting the process is embracing failure as feedback. Too many people treat failure like the end, when really it's just information. Every time you fail, the process is teaching you what not to do, how to adjust, and how to come back stronger. Every great success story is full of failure, rejection, and mistakes. But those who respect the process don't take failure personally. They don't let it break their spirit. They treat it as part of the journey. When you respect the process, you understand that failure is not permanent unless you quit. Respecting the process also requires patience. We live in a generation where everything is instant download, instant meals, instant fame. But true mastery, true success cannot be rushed. You can't speed up the seasons of life. Just like you can't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow, you can't expect to achieve greatness overnight. The process takes time, and impatience is what kills most dreams. People quit because it's taking too long. People get discouraged because their timeline doesn't match their expectation. But if you respect the process, you don't compare your timeline to anyone else's. You don't let society pressure you into rushing. You understand that the right time is not your time, but the time when you're truly ready. Respecting the process also means embracing the small, daily, boring tasks. The grind isn't always glamorous. It's not always exciting. Sometimes it's repetition, practice, routines, habits that seem insignificant. But those small actions repeated daily create massive results over time. The process is about stacking bricks one by one, day after day, until you build something unshakable. People fail because they underestimate the power of consistency in the small things. They think skipping one day doesn't matter, but every day compounds. Respecting the process means you do the small things with the same energy as the big things because you know they add up. Another key element is endurance. The process is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It requires stamina, grit, and the ability to keep going long after the excitement wears off. At first, you're motivated, you're energized, you're hyped. But after a few weeks or months, when the novelty fades, that's when the real test begins. Can you keep working when no one's watching? Can you keep pushing when progress feels slow? Can you keep showing up even when you don't feel like it? Respecting the process means committing for the long haul, not just when it's convenient. When you truly respect the process, you also learn to enjoy it. Too many people are only focused on the destination. They say, I'll be happy when I graduate, when I get the job, when I buy the house, when I achieve the dream. But if you only live for the destination, you'll spend most of your life miserable because most of your life is the process. Respecting the process means finding joy in the journey, celebrating small wins, appreciating growth along the way. It means loving the grind, not just the goal. Because the truth is, once you reach one milestone, you'll always set another. If you can't enjoy the process, you'll always chase happiness and never find it. Respecting the process is also about accountability. You can't respect the process and blame others for your lack of progress. You can't say, it's the economy, it's my boss, it's my family, it's bad luck. The process doesn't care about excuses. The process responds to effort. If you're not where you want to be, look at your work ethic, your consistency, your habits. Respecting the process means owning your journey completely and refusing to point fingers. Finally, respecting the process is about trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the grind, trusting that your hard work will pay off even when the results aren't immediate. Too many people abandon the process because they doubt. They let fear and insecurity convince them that's not working. But if you plant a seed and keep digging it up every day to see if it's growing, you'll kill it. The same is true for your dream. You have to water them, nurture them, and trust that in due season they will grow. Respecting the process is what separates those who wish from those who win. Wishing is easy. Working is hard. Wishing is quick. Working takes time. But when you respect the process, you don't give up just because it's slow, painful, or uncertain. You keep showing up, you keep grinding, you keep pushing. You know the process never lies. It may take longer than you expected. It may test you harder than you imagined, but it will never fail you if you don't fail it. Respect the process, and one day the process will respect you. It will reward you in ways that shortcuts never could. It will shape you into someone capable of handling the very dreams you prayed for. And when that day comes, you'll realize that the process itself was the true prize all along. Work in silence, let results speak. It sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest principles to live by in today's world. We live in a time where people are obsessed with showing every step of their journey on social media, where validation often feels more important than results, and where many people are more concerned with looking successful than actually being successful. But when you truly commit to your craft, your dream, your mission, you don't need to announce every move. You don't need to tell the world what you're going to do. You just do it and then let the results speak louder than anything you could ever say. Because talk is cheap, but results are undeniable. The truth is, a lot of people waste their energy trying to prove themselves with words instead of action. They want to convince everyone that they're grinding, that they're on the path to greatness, that they're destined for success. But the real grinders, the ones who make history, don't have time to talk about what they're doing. They're too busy doing it. When you're serious about your dream, your actions will tell the story. You don't need applause. You don't need approval. You don't need people to validate your effort. The proof will come when the results show up. Working in silence protects your vision. Too often when people talk too much about their plans, they open the door for doubt, negativity, and distraction. Not everyone needs to know what you're working on. Some people won't understand it, some will discourage you, and others might even try to steal your ideas or undermine your progress. Silence is power because it keeps your energy focused. Instead of wasting your breath trying to explain or defend your dream, you pour all the energy into building it. You let your finished product be your explanation. Another reason to work in silence is because words can create false satisfaction. Studies even show that when you tell people your goals, your brain releases the same chemicals as if you already achieved them. That means the more you talk, the less urgency you feel to act. You trick yourself into believing you've done something when all you've done is speak. That's why so many people have big dreams but never execute. They talk themselves into comfort. But when you stay quiet and put your head down, there's no false sense of accomplishment. The only thing that matters is the grind. And the grind doesn't lie. Working in silence also builds resilience. When you're not looking for external validation, you learn to validate yourself. You don't rely on likes, shares, or comments to keep going. You don't need anyone to clap for you to stay motivated. You become driven by purpose, not praise. And that kind of drive is unshakable because it comes from within. It doesn't matter if people doubt you, ignore you, or criticize you. You keep going because your motivation isn't tied to their approval. That's the kind of discipline that creates champions, the kind of mindset that produces unstoppable people. When you let results speak, you can't be denied. People may argue with your words, they may doubt your promises, they may dismiss your dreams, but they cannot argue with results. If you say you're going to lose weight, don't post about it every day. Show up months later transformed. If you say you're going to start a business, don't talk endlessly about your plans. Open the doors, launch the product, and let the sales prove it. If you say you're going to be the best in your field, don't tell people. Just work until your performance leaves no room for debate. Results silence critics in a way words never can. Another important part of this principle is patience. Working in silence means being okay with not being recognized right away. It means being okay with grinding in the dark, unseen and unappreciated, while others shine. Most people can't handle that. They want instant recognition, instant fame, instant applause. But if you truly believe in what you're building, you don't need people to clap while you're working. You're willing to wait until it's finished, until it's undeniable, until your results force people to pay attention. Because when that moment comes, it will be more powerful than anything you could have said along the way. Silence also gives you freedom to fail. When you broadcast every move, every plan, every step, you put yourself under unnecessary pressure. You feel like everyone's watching, judging, waiting for you to succeed, or worse, waiting for you to fail. That kind of pressure can paralyze you. But when you work quietly, you give yourself the freedom to experiment, to make mistakes, to learn, and to grow without an audience. You fail privately, you learn privately, and then you succeed publicly. And when people finally see the results, they'll have no idea how many failures it took to get there. Working in silence also sharpens your focus. When you stop trying to impress people with updates, you can focus fully on the work. Distractions fall away because you're not worried about image. You're worried about execution. Your energy is not scattered across showing and telling. It's concentrated on doing. And the more focused you are, the faster and stronger your results will come. Focus is power, and silence is the tool that protects that focus. But let me make this clear. Working in silence does not mean hiding forever. It doesn't mean you never share your work. It means you share it when it's ready. Too many people expose half-baked ideas and half-done projects. But when you work in silence, you wait until your results are undeniable, until they speak for themselves. Then you present them with confidence, knowing that no one can question the work behind it. That's when silence turns into impact, because you didn't just tell the world you were going to do something, you showed them. Think about the greats in any field. They didn't spend their time announcing every step of the way. They were too busy mastering the craft. Michael Jordan didn't talk about being the greatest. He worked until the results spoke for him. Steve Jobs didn't hype up every idea. He revealed finished products that changed the world. Beyoncé doesn't post every rehearsal, every studio session. She drops albums and performances that leave people speechless. These are people who understand that silence in the process makes the final product undeniable. Another benefit of working in silence is that it teaches humility. You don't need to be seen every step of the way. You don't need constant recognition. You understand that the work is more important than the attention. And humility keeps you grounded, keeps you hungry, keeps you striving for more. When you work quietly, you avoid the trap of arrogance. You don't start thinking you're great just because people are praising your effort. You wait for the results to prove your greatness. Working in silence also protects you from envy. When people see your every move, not everyone will be happy for you. Some will compete, some will copy, some will secretly hope you fail. But when you work quietly, you remove their access to your process. They can't interfere with what they don't see. By the time they realize what you've been building is already done, already solid, already undeniable. And the final truth is this: working in silence is a test of your commitment. Can you keep grinding when nobody is watching? Can you keep pushing when no one is clapping? Can you stay disciplined without recognition? That's what separates the serious from the superficial. Anyone can work hard when everyone's watching, when the spotlight is on, when the crowd is cheering. But true greatness is forged in the dark, in the quiet, when it's just you, the grind, and the dream. So stop talking, stop announcing, stop trying to prove yourself with words. Let your work be your proof. Let your results be your response. The world doesn't need more people making promises. It needs more people keeping them. Oh, don't tell them what you're going to do. Don't ask them to believe in your dream. Believe in yourself enough to do the work in silence, with focus, with discipline. And when the results come, when your work finally speaks, it will be so loud, so undeniable, that you won't have to say a word. Staying hungry and staying humble is one of the most powerful combinations a person can develop. And it is the real foundation of sustained success. Hunger is the fuel that keeps you moving, the fire that refuses to let you settle, the drive that pushes you to get up every day and chase after something bigger than yourself. Humility is the anchor that keeps you grounded, the reminder that no matter how far you go or how much you achieve, you are still learning, still growing, and still human. Together, hunger and humility balance each other out. One keeps you striving for more. The other keeps you from being destroyed by pride. Without hunger, you become complacent. Without humility, you become arrogant. But when you carry both, you create a mindset that can achieve greatness and sustain it. Hunger is about wanting more than average, more than good enough, more than survival. Hungry people don't just settle for what's handed to them. They go after what they know they deserve. Hunger is what makes the athlete train when everyone else is sleeping. Hunger is what makes the entrepreneur keep grinding after every failure. Hunger is what makes the student study longer, the artist practice harder, the leader think deeper. Hunger is what separates those who wish from those who win. Because wishing without hunger is empty, but hunger without action is impossible. When you're truly hungry, you don't need external motivation. The need to achieve burns from within, but hunger alone can be dangerous. Without humility, hunger can turn into greed, arrogance, or self-destruction. That's why humility is equally important. Humility keeps you teachable. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. No matter how strong you are, there is always someone stronger. No matter how successful you become, there are always new challenges waiting. Humility keeps you from believing your own hype. It prevents you from thinking you've made it, because the moment you think you've arrived, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. Staying hungry means never settling. Success is dangerous because it can trick you into comfort. Once you reach one level, it's tempting to relax, to coast, to stop pushing as hard. That's why so many people who rise quickly also fall quickly. They lost the hunger that got them there. They forgot what it felt like to grind. They forgot the late nights, the sacrifices, the early morning. Hunger is about remembering that feeling, even after you've achieved something. It's about creating new goals, new standards, new visions so that you're always striving, always chasing, always moving forward. The best never stop being hungry because they know success is rented, not owned, and the rent is due every single day. Staying humble means remembering where you came from. It means recognizing the people who helped you along the way, acknowledging the mentors, the supporters, even the struggles that shaped you. Humility keeps you connected to your roots. It keeps you human. People respect hunger, but they love humility. No one wants to follow someone arrogant and entitled. But when you combine drive with humility, you inspire others. You show that success doesn't make you better than others. It just makes you responsible to help more, to serve more, to give back more. Hunger and humility also change how you handle failure. A hungry person doesn't let failure break them. They use it as fuel. They see failure as part of the journey, not the end of it. A humble person doesn't let failure destroy their identity. They see it as a chance to grow, to learn, to adjust. Together, hunger and humility turn setbacks into setup. Instead of quitting when things go wrong, you push harder because you're hungry, and you stay grounded because you're humble. That's why the combination is so powerful. It keeps you moving forward no matter what comes your way. Another key part of staying hungry and humble is discipline. Hunger without discipline burns out quickly. You can be motivated for a day, a week, or even a year, but without consistent habits, hunger fades. Humility without discipline becomes weakness because you accept less than your potential. Discipline turns hunger into consistent action and humility into consistent growth. When you discipline yourself to stay hungry and humble daily, you don't depend on feelings. You depend on standards. And standards outlast moods. Staying hungry also requires vision. You have to know what you're chasing, what you're striving for, what you're hungry about. Without vision, hunger turns into restlessness. You keep moving, but without direction. Vision gives hunger focus. It turns energy into progress. But vision without humility can make you blind to advice, blind to correction, blind to growth. That's why humility matters. It keeps you open to feedback, open to change, open to becoming better as you chase your vision. Another dimension is how hunger and humility shape relationships. Hungry people attract others who are ambitious, who want to grow, who want to push forward. Humble people attract others who trust them, respect them, and want to support them. If you're only hungry but not humble, people will see you as selfish or arrogant, and they won't want to support you. If you're only humble but not hungry, people will respect your character, but may overlook your potential. But when you're both, you attract the right people and the right opportunities, because people see you as both driven and grounded, ambitious and approachable. Staying hungry and humble also helps you handle success. Success has destroyed more people than failure ever did. Failure hurts, but it makes you stronger if you learn from it. Success, on the other hand, can trick you into laziness. It can blind you into thinking you no longer need to work hard. That's why you must stay hungry, even when you've made it. Celebrate your victories, but don't get stuck there. Always ask, what's next? And humility ensures that success doesn't go to your head. It keeps you grateful, thankful, and mindful that success is not just about you. It's about how you can use it to impact others. The combination of hunger and humility also builds legacy. Legacy is not built in a day. It's built in decades of consistent hunger and humility. People will remember how hard you worked, but they'll also remember how you treated them. They'll respect your drive, but they'll love your humility. Legacy is the balance of achievement and character, of hunger and humility working together over a lifetime. To stay hungry, you must constantly challenge yourself. Hunger thrives when you're uncomfortable. That means stepping out of your comfort zone, setting goals that scare you, and pushing yourself beyond what feels easy. When you stop challenging yourself, your hunger dies. That's why you can't let comfort trap you. You have to keep stretching, keep striving, keep reaching higher. To stay humble, you must constantly remind yourself that you're not above anyone. No matter how much success you achieve, you are still a student of life. There will always be someone better, always more to learn, always room to grow. Humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. It's about serving others, lifting others, and recognizing that your greatness isn't just measured by what you achieve, but by what you give. When you combine hunger and humility, you become unstoppable. You wake up every day with fire in your belly, ready to work, ready to grind, ready to chase excellence. And at the same time, you stay grounded, respectful, grateful, and open to learning. Hunger gives you the courage to dream big. Humility gives you the wisdom to handle big dreams. Hunger makes you chase greatness. Humility ensures you don't lose yourself when you get it. So never lose your hunger, no matter how much you achieve. Never lose your humility, no matter how much you rise. Keep striving, keep learning, keep growing. Because staying hungry and staying humble is the secret not only to success, but to sustaining it. It's the reason some people burn out while others last a lifetime. Hunger will get you there. Humility will keep you there. Together, they will make you unstoppable. When you reach the point where work is no longer about obligation, but about identity, you discover an energy within you that is impossible to explain to those who have never experienced it. Work stops being something that you dread and starts becoming something that excites you, something that pulls you out of bed before the alarm even goes off. This is the stage where work is not simply work. It becomes your lifestyle, your rhythm, your heartbeat. When you are so deeply aligned with your goals, your vision, and your purpose, the grind becomes second nature. You no longer ask yourself if you have the energy to keep going because you've conditioned yourself to see work as breathing. Nobody asks themselves if they can breathe again tomorrow. They just do it. That is the place of mastery, the place where passion and consistency collide to create an unstoppable force. The truth is, most people never get to this level because they treat work as a punishment, as something to endure until the weekend, until vacation, until retirement. But champions treat work as privilege. They know that putting in hours, sweat, focus, and effort isn't draining them, it's building them. When you adopt this mindset, you stop living for breaks and start living for breakthroughs. The satisfaction doesn't come from escaping the grind, but from conquering it. The joy doesn't come from sitting still, but from knowing you kept moving forward when most people would have quit. That's what makes work not just work, but a way of life. Consider any person who has ever been considered great in their field. The greatest athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, leaders. None of them saw work as separate from their identity. For Michael Jordan, it wasn't just basketball practice. It was his sanctuary, his obsession, his temple. For Steve Jobs, it wasn't simply running a company. It was pouring his soul into a vision until it reshaped the world. For Eric Thomas, it isn't just giving motivational speeches. It's breathing life into people every single day. No matter how tired or drained he may be. The common thread is this. They may work who they were. And when you make work your lifestyle, mediocrity cannot survive in your presence. Excuses cannot coexist with your dedication. Comfort cannot override your hunger. When work is your lifestyle, discipline no longer feels like a burden. You don't have to push yourself to show up. You're drawn to it. You don't have to argue with yourself about whether you're in the mood to work. You just work because that's who you are. It's like a runner who has been running every morning for 10 years. Even if they're tired, even if it's raining, even if they don't feel their best, something inside them said, this is what I do. That's the level you need to reach with your grind. Stop negotiating with yourself. Stop asking whether you feel like it and start adopting the mentality that work is your natural state of being. When you stop treating work as an option and start treating it as your identity, results follow like a shadow. It's important to realize that when work becomes a lifestyle, it's not only about clocking hours, but also about embracing the mindset of growth in every area. You're no longer limited to your career or business. You apply that same hunger to your health, your relationships, your learning, your character. You become the type of person who refuses to coast. Every environment you walk into feels your commitment. Every person you interact with can sense your discipline. Every challenge that comes your way becomes another opportunity to prove that this is who you are, not just what you do. And when that becomes your reputation, doors begin to open that hard work alone cannot unlock. Because now you're not only working hard, you're working as someone whose identity is tied to excellence. But let's be clear. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. You don't suddenly wake up one day and declare, work is my lifestyle, without backing it up with years of consistency. It's built by the little decisions you make every single day. Do you stay in bed when it's easier, or do you rise before the world and put in the effort? Do you cut corners when no one